first got involved with the High School Musical, kind of from the impetus of the idea, did you kind of foresee the kind of reaction that it would get? Because musicals people like, but to kind of get on this level, and now a film, was it something that you were a little bit surprised?
It was one of those things where I was looking for a project for television, something sort of low key, under the radar, modest. That would just sort of be a great exercise for me to get behind a camera and do something long form, movie for television, And I saw something in High School Musical that excited me. I saw something, that there was heart and fun and spirit and I love the sort of quiet little themes of that were sort of empowering an idea so when we all geared up, I set out to do something that would be well imagined and fun, but no, we hoped that we would do something that maybe would have a little sort of shine for the Disney Channel, but we didn't have any idea at all that it could sort of have these legs that would carry it off into the rest of the world. So it was wonderfully surprising, to say the least.
Finding this cast, then, these kids who you saw from the almost like pre-celebrity stage, and now
Right.
These are huge stars in their own right. To see this growth, behind the camera, what was it like at any point did you have to step in and be like, all right, kids, calm down a little bit, or did they come kind of naturally?
Actually, it's been great. It's like art imitates life, really, truly. We've all had like a high school experience together, I'm the teacher or the principal maybe, and these kids have really just sort of had this like 3 years, high school experience, in that they've become a community of, a friendship, But the great thing is that when we selected these individuals, we really took our time, and we did an interview process and an auditioning process that went on for weeks, but that ended with like 2 days, 12 hours, where these kids were improvising and acting and doing scene work and singing and dancing and doing sport. And by the time we made the selection, we knew that we were in the game with kids that could take the responsibility and that could hold their own and that were going to bring something to the party. I knew that. I really believed that. And they have. Each time they bring more enthusiasm, more generosity, more excitement, more ideas. And as they've grown, the egos, if they're there, have always been checked at the door. They always come in, with this sort of real invigorated spirit to do a great job. And I've never had to be like the traffic cop, ever. Sometimes it gets a little out of control, in that we're having fun. And because of the clock and our schedule, I have to like, but no, these are really well-mannered, professional, kids that are beautifully raised and quite understanding of what's going on.
Having a background in choreography and stuff, does that make you a much more visual director then? Especially when some of these numbers this time around are amazing.
Thank you.
When you are planning it as a choreographer, do you see different camera angles and where people?
I do. And that wasn't always the way. Early on in my career, in the very beginning of my sort of stepping out of rock and roll and theater and in behind a camera. I was clueless just in terms of how to take choreography and sort of really ready it for film or television. And I had the great fortune of meeting Gene Kelly and working with Gene Kelly, and he wonderfully sort of took me under his arm and mentored and tutored and taught me many things, opened my eyes up and my imagination up to so many things. But one of the most important things that I learned from Gene was the importance of choreographers understanding how to design their choreography for the camera. And so, I spent, 20 years knowing Gene, and we talked about that kind of stuff a lot, with a stopwatch and a viewfinder around my neck. So yeah, now it's like sort of one and the same. When I'm working on a film or a television movie, you're dancing, and you're already like, part of your head is like, where you want to look at this from.
I have to ask one really quick last question. What was your high school experience like? And did you kind of project a little bit of your experience onto the screen?
I did. That was part of the fun, is when I read this, I thought, it reminded me of high school. And it also reminded me of some of the things that were absent for me. What I think is really interesting is that there are those individuals that want to look at High School Musical. Not all, a lot of them. Obviously, 400 million, I hear, have checked it out. But there are those that want to look at it and say, it's oversimplified. That there's really not that much there. But in fact, when I first read it, I mean, I saw things in there that I thought, God, I wish that would have been there when I was in high school. You know, the idea that, you know, that you're going to be supported if you want to, if you're an athlete, but you also have a voice, that there's an actual place for you to be able to be both, that one idea doesn't have to define you, you know, and that often one idea can't complete you. And so I kind of like that little sort of idea at the center of High School Musical. But no, I had an invested interest in my High School Musical theater and in my sport program. I had a wonderful sort of community of people that I worked with in theater and play production. And I remembered, you know, that we were so inspired and aspired to be like, you know, George Chakiris and, you know, and all the actors that were in the movies and on Broadway. And so when I read High School Musical, I thought, oh my gosh, you know, this will be a lot of fun to kind of reach back and kind of revisit some of these places that were, you know, really, you know, the beginning of who I came from, the beginning of who I am.